when we flew in on the airplane, I had in my mind, I'd pictured Arizona, all of Arizona, just to be this flat, deserty ground. And I remember when we first flew into Phoenix, seeing palm trees everywhere. I was totally shocked because I didn't think of palm trees when I would think of Arizona. Palm trees didn't come to mind, but that got me excited and just thinking about what kind of place is this. And so we got in, and I remember the first day was really hot. I think if I remember right, we actually came in on the hottest day of the whole summer when I was there. And so, but that was nice because then it was just all downhill from there. But I remember that it was hotter than I was used to, but I also remember thinking, because previously I had heard about, oh, it's going to be so hot there, and it's just, when you're tracting, it's just going to be miserable. But I remember thinking, oh, this isn't too bad. I can handle this. It was hot, though. We pulled in, got all our luggage. The mission president and his wife met us, and the assistants, and we went to the mission home. We kind of just got to know each other a little bit more, got to know the mission president a little bit better. I remember how we had a delicious dinner. One of the mission president's counselors was from the Hispanic community, and he just made a delicious meal. It was really good. So we all had that meal together, and then we all shared our testimonies together. And then afterwards was transfers. So that was the first day that we met the new missionaries. I remember coming into the transfer building, and we had kind of a little meeting with just all our new missionaries, and then all the other missionaries started coming in. And I remember seeing this one elder who just seemed really charismatic and outgoing, and I just thought, he looks like a cool person. He looks like a nice guy. And just so happened to turn out he was my trainer, which was great. And I was really excited for that. The first day that we kind of hit the field, my trainer, he said, okay, let's put your stuff in the apartment and let's just go out. We're going to start knocking on some doors and talking to some people, and which was great. I'm glad that he did that instead of taking a day to just kind of sit around and get to know the area or whatnot. We actually got in and started working. And he was a really good example to me of hard work and being completely obedient to the mission rules and to the Spirit, which I'm really grateful for, because that set a tone for the rest of my mission. That sent me on I feel like a good trajectory for the rest of my mission. So I was really grateful for that. His name is Elder Mason, by the way. Elder Mason was my trainer. He was a great trainer. I think I only realized later how good of a trainer he was, but he was really good. And that first tracting day, I think it was probably 110, 114 degrees or so. And I wasn't used to that weather still, and so it was really hot to me. And we would go around and we would knock on doors, and we did that in about 45-minute time spans, because it was just so hot, and we needed to get some water, and the sun was just draining me, and because I wasn't used to it. And so we would knock on doors and talk to people for about 45 minutes, and then we went to a church building that was nearby. And I remember we went into we went through the doors, and there was a couch next to the wall, and we sat down, and I just was out probably in 10 seconds. I was so tired because of all that sun. I still remember the first door I knocked on, or the first person that answered, actually. My trainer would go up, and he would knock, and then he kind of demonstrated how to talk to somebody and how to introduce the gospel and things like that. And then he said, okay, you're the next door. And so I was just thrown right in, which was great. I think the Lord knew, though, that I was a little nervous, because he blessed me with about 4 or 5 doors in a row where nobody was home. And so what that helped me to do is I had to get up the courage every time we went to a new door. I had to just get up the courage to go up and knock on the door, and I was just so nervous inside. But it was nice, because I would get up the courage, knock on the door, and then there'd be no one home. Which I don't know if that's nice, but then the nice thing was I got another chance in the next door to build up my courage again, and then knock on the door, And then we'd go to the next one, build up my courage a little bit more, knock on the door, till finally I was feeling a little bit better of actually walking to the door and knocking. And then eventually somebody answered, and then that was a whole new story. But probably the first week or so, we had a really great experience. I think it was about the first week. I knocked on the door, and a man came to the door, and I said, I can't remember exactly what I said, but, "Hi, how are you doing?" Something like that. And he said, "Oh, we're not doing so good." And I stopped, and I think that was the first time I got that response. And so I said, "Oh, why? What's going on?" And he said, "Well, we're having these problems," and he talked a little bit about just some issues he was having with his family. And then I was able to say something about how we have a message that can help with that. And so he said, "Okay, well, why don't you come on in?" And this was actually the first full family that I got to teach. And eventually, I think there were 3 kids in that family who could be baptized, who were eventually. And they became a family that I just loved. And I would go over to their house a lot and help them out. And the word just enveloped them. And it's really cool to see this conversion process with them. I remember eventually we taught the word of wisdom, and the dad of this family was addicted to chewing tobacco. But I think not only because of the things that we were able to teach and how it was able to affect him and his family, but also he had just amazing self-control and the desire and the will to improve, that he was able to just say, "Okay, I'm done." And as far as I know, he never took another piece of chewing tobacco again. He just said, I'm through and I'm done," and he stopped. And it was really cool to see the transformation that he had. So that was in my first area, that kind of experience that I had with him and his family. But it started right at the very beginning, where we were able to find them and talk with them and teach them. So it was a really neat experience.